More than 700,000 people have fled their homes in northern Mozambique, terrified following attacks by militants linked to the Islamic State group. Somehow, in these refugee camps, life goes on, but many carry deep psychological scars. Doctors Without Borders has been helping some of the victims. This man's arm was completely paralyzed after he tried to escape a militia group back in September.
I looked left and right. They fired shots, but I was able to escape. I ran far, very far.
Not everyone was so lucky. This woman's husband was killed and her daughter kidnapped by a group she says was Al-Shabaab.
They took her with them. Her sister escaped, but my 20-year-old daughter never came back. I gave her photo to the Red Cross, but I don't have any news.
17 people in this camp have lost daughters. Their grieving is difficult. According to the Rural Observatory, a Mozambican NGO that has been collecting testimonies from refugee families, at least 1,000 women under the age of 20 have been kidnapped. Some have been pushed into forced marriages with jihadists, others trafficked into sex work overseas. Last month, only 8 had been found.
They're crying to express their emotions. When you know what they went through, they have to cry because this is what they feel, what the group feels. In a way, it feels good to cry.
Hundreds of miles away from their homelands, these fishing populations are struggling to rebuild. Following the attack on Pemba on March 23rd, many displaced people came to Pemba, the provincial capital of Cabo Delgado, 250 kilometers to the south. The port city's population has doubled in a year. But businessmen are leaving in droves, with many evacuating to the national capital, Maputo. This consul for the British High Commission has worked here as an accountant since 2006. He's lost 30% of his clientele since the most recent attacks. He too plans to leave Pemba.
Whether you're an expatriate or whether you're a national, everybody's scared. I mean, I talk to my staff. They're contemplating leaving Pemba. If Total are not going to continue in the short term, there is no money.
In Maputo, representatives of Total refuse to comment. Their liquid gas project has been put on hold and contractors left in the lurch. The largest single private investment Africa has ever seen has been frozen, at least until the security situation is resolved. The Mozambican government has accepted military assistance in terms of weapons and training. The Southern African Development Community is proposing to send a 3,000-strong force. The organization's former executive secretary says the conflict has already taken on an international dimension.
These guys, people from Tanzania, from DR Congo, from Somalia, and probably from other parts of the world, including our own Mozambicans. These guys have a training camp on the other side of the border. And then they cross the border and they come and do stuff this side. The bad stuff. So something has to be done to address deeper the problem. And the starting point is to retrain and to re-equip soldiers.
The objectives of armed groups in northern Mozambique are unclear, but many believe the solution is not just a military one. According to this analyst, the insurgents are exploiting poverty in the north to gain momentum.
People tend to point out to ISIS, to the jihadists. That might be part of the problem. But we need to underline the governance failures. There was an impression that the state was more protecting the interests of international oil companies and not fairly bargaining for the interests of local population.
The government plans to organise dialogue meetings with disaffected communities in the north, but it will take some time before the displaced can return home. Amid the chaos, Cabo Delgado province has become a hub of heroin trafficking. Interpol estimates that more than $100 million worth of drugs pass through here every year. The terrorists and organised crime gangs will not want to leave this little corner of paradise anytime soon.